Welcome to Build. I'm Laura Haywood, and today I'm talking to the 5 fierce females who lead the cast of Broadway's newest hit musical, Head Over Heels. Unexpectedly and brilliantly pairing an epic poem from the 16th century with the iconic 1980s pop hits of the Go-Go's, Head Over Heels is a spectacle of exuberance, hilarity, affirmation, and of course, the beat. Let's take a look at Head Over Heels.
See the people walking down the street, falling line, just watching on their feet. They don't know where they want to go, but they're walking in time. They got the beat, they got the beat, they got the beat. Yeah, kids got the beat. Everybody get on your feet, got the beat. We know you can dance, we got the beat. Jump in, get down, round and round and round. We got the beat. We got the beat. We got the beat. We got the beat. We got the beat.
Wow. I feel like after that promo, all the tickets are sold. I mean, everything you want in a musical is in that, even in that little 1 minute that we just saw. Congratulations, ladies. This is an incredible accomplishment and a beautiful show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Welcome. So let's go down the line, introduce yourself, say who you play, and then we'll get into talking about the show.
I am Alexandra Socha, and I play Princess Philoclea.
Bonnie Milligan, and I play Princess Pamela.
I'm Rachel York, and I play Queen Gynecia.
I'm Peppermint, and I play Pythio.
I'm Taylor Jones, and I play Mopsa.
So these are all characters that were originally created in the 14th and 1500s. I mean, the idea of pairing such an old story with such, I mean, I guess I wouldn't call it current music, but such modern music, I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, of course. I never thought it would work so well, but it works so well.
Yeah, it shouldn't. In concept, it should not work, but it's amazing how well the two things go together and how well the Go-Go's lyrics lend themselves to storytelling. I think if you listen to them as pop songs, you kind of don't, you maybe won't have noticed how deep and interesting their lyrics really are. And I don't ever feel that there's a moment in a show where it feels like a song has been plugged in out of nowhere and like there isn't a reason to sing it.
So Bonnie, you've been with the show the longest. Can you give a couple sentence elevator pitch description of the story?
Oh, wowza. Okay. Couple sentence. Okay, well, I'll say it's a fast-paced, funny, musical romantic comedy that deals with today's issues in a wonderful way that leaves you feeling joyful and hopeful for a better world that includes inclusion and acceptance and love.
That's great. I agree with all of that. Any one of you want to describe the plot of the show?
Got that one down.
I mean, I can do it, but I
Royal
feel
family
like
on the run, self-discovery, sex, love, sex, and rock and roll.
Yes,
Great.
exactly.
I want to add on to what Bonnie said. I think we take the show a step further than inclusion. It's about representation and proper and equal representation all across the board. So many people of different identities, genders, sexualities, sexes are represented in our show, including the storyline. And it's not just about self-discovery, because a lot of shows are about self-discovery. It's about representation and celebrating that.
Yeah,
and I think that's what we do really well.
It's about being your most authentic self. That's really what it's about, I think, too.
And having others celebrate that.
Yeah.
It's a celebration.
It's told through this lens of this old Elizabethan story written by Sir Philip Sidney called The Arcadia. So it takes these sort of classic trope Elizabethan characters that you would think are one thing, and as the show goes on, you sort of see all of those characters in a new light and in a new perspective. And so it's a royal family, and Pythio the Oracle gives them these prophecies, and the family is trying to outrun the prophecies, but there's all this discovery
Sex.
along the way. And sex. Well,
A lot of sexual awakening.
Yes.
They're discovering themselves.
But also family friendly.
But
Bring
yes,
Very
totally
family friendly.
Yeah,
And one thing I do have to say is that this
Innuendo.
appeals to a 7-year-old and an 82-year-old.
I mean, how many times has your daughter seen the show?
My daughter has seen this show. Well, gosh, she's seen it like 8 times, and she's about 7 years. She's 7 years old. She's memorized all the dialogue and the dancing. She loves the dance because there's a lot of this really cool choreography by Spencer Liff, and then my mother came for my birthday to see the show the other night, and she's 82, and she tends to like the more classic musical theater like Rodgers and Hammerstein, so I wasn't sure how she would take this, and she was so excited. She was so giddy, and she was like, oh my gosh, it was such a wonderful show. So I was like, okay, so this works for a lot of people out there.
It makes me kind of get choked up and goosebumpy to think about an 82-year-old and a 7-year-old both coming out of that theater understanding what a non-binary plural is. Yeah. I mean, Peppermint, would you do us the honor of explaining the concept of non-binary plural?
Well, yeah, the plural is just a reiteration of non-binary. But today's world, we have, and probably since the beginning of time, at least in this story, there have been people who don't always identify with male or female, gay or straight, black or white. There's a lot of folks who have an existence somewhere in the beautiful world in between. And my character, Pythio, is a representation of a person with a non-binary gender identity who is either neither male or female, or maybe a combination of both, and has the authority to determine that for themselves. And I think that's what's beautiful, is that we each have that. And I'm really happy to be a part of a show that celebrates that, as opposed to maybe 10 years ago, it would have been the butt of several jokes.
Yeah. Well, and you're the first trans woman to originate a principal role on Broadway.
I'll take that. That we know of.
That of course, yeah.
And
that's a good point.
I think
I'm glad
it's
you said
important
that.
to highlight that there have been so many people from with different expressions and gender identities who may not have had opportunity, because opportunity is one of the things that's been so limited in the community. And so I'm really happy to have this historic moment and platform to talk about these issues. And I'm going to try to do it just as fiercely every night. Yeah, thank you.
I think the reason that I locked onto the idea of the non-binary plural is that I have always kind of been like a grammar nut, and it's taken me a while to reprogram my brain to be able to use they as a singular pronoun. But it was this show that made me think, oh, maybe it's not a singular pronoun. Maybe it's a plural pronoun that applies to a single human being.
That's exactly what it is, and we do it all the time.
Like a human containing multitudes.
But it's not necessarily different personalities in one person.
No.
We do it all the time. If we're like, someone's here for you, oh, what did they say? We do that all the time for one person. It's just, I think it helps us to assign a gender to people, and that's really, I think this story and talking about this issue just shows that that's more about making ourselves comfortable than really getting information. And so this shows that we don't need to do that.
Totally. And what I love the most is that it's not a hit it over your head political statement like, hey, it doesn't preach this stuff. It just shows the world as like what it would be if everyone loved themselves, was able to love whoever they wanted, and supported the people in their lives no matter what they chose. And it's just presented as if that's the norm.
It lives by example.
Exactly.
And I think that's really important in general. And I always say, look, if someone comes and they don't really get the message of the show, they're still gonna have a great time.
Yeah.
And that's because that's I feel like maybe some people have left and maybe not gotten all those multitudes that we're talking about, but they have still had a lot of fun. But then I think the beauty of it is it's this really fun, like rockin', joyous show that when you pull it apart has these incredible layers of message in it.
I mean, like any poetry.
Yeah.
And it's a good way of that. It's so much fun. Whether you find yourself as a really open human being walking the earth, you'll learn more. No matter who you are, no matter how much you think you know, you'll learn more about the human race. And then I think it does a good job, like you said, not hitting you over the head or not making you feel bad for things you don't know or things that are new. And hopefully if you do walk away, if you have been questioning something before, maybe a world that shows you like, why'd you even question it in the first place? Why can't you just accept it? I hope that you walk away going, yeah, maybe why have I been so conflicted with that when this world of people just accepted it as it is? And I love walking away with that every night. It's so cool.
Yeah. And it's also important to know that this is like a modern day fairy tale.
Totally.
This isn't hard to grasp or anything like that. We have several different love stories going on throughout the play. I'm in a relationship with the king. We have a marriage on the rocks. We're trying to figure that out. You know, she's and she has they have the beautiful Romeo and Juliet type of love story, and then these two have another love story going on. There's all it's about all kinds of love and about acceptance for everybody in this world. Everybody has a place in this world.
Yeah, every single one of you on this stage does a little kissing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And two of you kiss each other.
We won't say who.
Wait, who's it gonna be?
Let's not say who. Let's not spoil it.
I don't know. I was going to have them rate each other as kissers. Just kidding. I'm sure you both look like excellent kissers.
I'll speak for all of us. Tens across
Great.
the board.
I love it. Okay, we can't talk about Head Over Heels without talking about the Go-Go's. And I actually got to go to a performance where they randomly showed up and at curtain call and
that was
played a couple of their hits. And like, you know, they are iconic. They are legends. They have still got it. And you guys are doing such an incredible job of bringing that same energy, that classic and yet new and like timeless element to the stage every night. What did you learn from them, whether through their music or from them as individuals during the creative process?
What's wonderful about the orchestrations that Tom Kitt did is that they still have the energy of the Go-Go's. It still feels like the Go-Go's. It's a rock musical, but it also works so perfectly in the musical theater genre. So they also feel like musical theater songs, and they tell wonderful stories, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
Did you work with them? Did they come in and take part?
Yes, every day.
They have actually been, I feel like, very a part of a lot of the process coming in and out. They, you know, when Michael Mayer first took over and Tom Kitt, we were up at New York Stage and Film up at Vassar, and half the week we had Gina Shaw, Charlotte Caffey, and Jane Whelan all come out. And then every step along the way, especially Jane and Charlotte, have really kind of been present. And they're so enthusiastic and excited about it. Jane Whelan has the best laugh in the world.
Oh my God.
And also she's seen the show so many times, and you can still hear her like laugh louder than anyone else. And so she came and saw the show maybe like 8 times in San Francisco when we were there. And there would be nights that we didn't know she was there, and you're on stage and all of a sudden you hear her and you're like, Jane's here. Like, they're so amazing, and they're excited about what we bring to it from a different, you know, vocal perspective. But I think what I've learned from them, especially like I've had nice long conversations with each of them individually, that just the revolutionary like punk, like badassery that they brought to it is something that I try to bring to every song, because I'm like, it's just, you just have to go balls to the wall and fearless, because that's who the Go-Go's are.
Yeah.
So, and it can be in your own way, but if you just commit to it with everything, I think that's bringing the spirit of the Go-Go's.
Is there anything you can share with us about a potential cast album?
No, clearly, no. I mean, we're all wishing and hoping and praying, and we know that people out there are wishing and hoping and praying,
Yeah.
which feels, which makes us feel really happy. I would love for this to be immortalized on an album. I think the sound of it is, again, so interesting and so unique, because it has that pop punk sound while still sounding like it's songs out of a musical. You know, I was like, I think people will be singing Beautiful for their auditions, you know, and Good Girl and those things. You know, I can hear people singing those in an audition room. So, I think we'll all keep crossing our fingers.
I think it has to be, and I'm sure everyone's doing whatever they can to make it happen.
But yeah, if the demand is high.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, at the very least, Peppermint, I Want
demanding.
Heaven is a Place on Earth as a single.
Yes. Yes.
I want This Old Feeling. Like, I want to listen to that all
Yeah.
the time. They,
even know
her
about
and
that
Jeremy
song.
Kushner sound so good.
Yeah, they really do. They really do.
sing down, and every night I'm always like, ugh. You know, like, I want to listen to that.
I grew up with the Go-Go's, and there were several songs that have become my very favorite songs in the show that I never heard of when I was growing up. So I'm very happy about that.
I think a lot of the songs that, I could sing along with a lot of those songs in the car, and I would when I was a teenager. I saw Belinda Carlisle in concert when I was 15. Like, I'm very attached to a lot of this music. I never thought about them as story songs before, but listening to you sing Good Girl, I'm like, I never associated it as this. I mean, can you talk about that moment in the show?
Lyrically, it's such a gem. I mean, the things that are saying about never stepping out of your little box in the world you have been put in by your femininity and by your place as a woman. It's saying so much. And I felt really lucky that when we were doing the lab of it, I asked if I could play around with it a little bit, and at the end I sort of, for fun, like went up to a really high sort of operatic note, which doesn't really have a place in pop punk music, but it just felt right character-wise. And then I was so lucky when Jane and Charlotte were there, and they loved it. They thought it was like hysterical, and so I think that's what helped mold that song was their openness in general with all the music. Their openness to our interpretation of their music was really incredible, because I never once felt like I had to stick to this exact thing that they had done. So I think Good Girl, it's been really fun feeling it evolve into this moment that a lot of people end up relating to, which is exciting, women especially.
That's one of the I was gonna say, that's one of the best parts about the show, and or somebody mentioned it earlier, is that their lyrics, and they talk about how they put their lyrics to juxtapose what's happening underneath it. And so it's nice to give the songs and the lyrics a platform to be heard, like word for word, for what they are. Like all of them really have like much deeper meanings. Like, I think Vacation is like a poppy, fun.
Vacation is not a happy song.
It's a happy song, but then when you listen to it, you're like, oh, not so happy. It's like.
I love that like Automatic Rainy Day could so easily be turned into a duet of two people speaking to each other on something, and it doesn't sound like you're just repeating and repeating. It really sounds like two different people talking to each other. Like it's really exciting.
Right, and this one has a nervous breakdown, a royal nervous.
This one stops the show.
Oh my God.
8 times a week.
Bonnie, my character.
Yeah.
Every so often.
That scene. That scene where she goes crazy.
As an actress, she's very stable.
That is a career-making scene, Bonnie. It's remarkable. I don't know how you have energy to do the rest of the show. That scene, I feel like, could make you go to sleep for 14 hours. Because you were going full
14
out.
shows. She did 14 shows in a row and didn't break or pop or even lose a single note.
No.
Do we need to call the union? Wow. Well, I mean, Bonnie, you've been on my radar for a long time. I've seen you a million times at 54 Below, and you are finally where you belong, in the spotlight on Broadway.
Yes.
Can you talk about your song Beautiful?
Oh my gosh, I love doing Beautiful. It's my first number, and it's like a great diva number, which is really fun to do. But my character is, the most beautiful girl in all the land, which is exciting as a plus-size gal to get to play these days. I've talked about it before, but I think there's so much of this world that tells you're not enough if you don't fit a very specific type or specific look. And that can cover everything. It's not even size. But for me, that's been that. And you have to fit in your box. And you can be Tracy Turnblad and that's it. Or if you're going to be in a musical, you have to explain your existence and have you overcome your self-hatred and have people teach you you're beautiful. And it's like, can't I just feel beautiful? And so the fact that I get to open up the show and sing about being beautiful and have everyone on stage agree with me it's not like, it doesn't go like past my radar. It's something that every night I relish in. And there are days when I struggle with my confidence, that I could feel lousy about myself or not great, and to go out there and have to find that within me to truthfully stand there is healing. And I hope healing for people in the audience to feel like beauty is many different things. As I say to her at the end, the beauty standard through all time defines inconstancy. Because in our world back in the day, a plumper person was the vision of beauty.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. So I love singing that number for many reasons. And on different days, I'm grateful for it in other ways. But it's fun too. And the dancers,
Oh my
our
gosh.
ensemble is insane.
Oh yeah, let's talk about our ensemble for a second.
Yeah, the ensemble is so good.
They are also the star of this show.
Spencer Liff was here a couple of weeks ago, and he told me that he auditioned literally thousands of dancers for the handful that make up your ensemble. And they are like, in another, if you had told me that they were robots or aliens from another planet, I would believe you, because they are doing superhuman things on that stage.
There's only 8 of them, which I think if you've seen the show, you might be like, what, really? Only 8? 1, 2, 3? Like, it's insane the way they are filling that stage with their talent.
I'm glad we got to see some of that in the little trailer that we had too.
There's so much more to be seen. It's like crazy seeing it live.
And all the design really fits in this sort of I don't want to use the word anachronistic, because that implies that something doesn't fit. It's sort of like, have you ever seen a recipe or a dish described on a menu at a super fancy restaurant, and you're like, who in the world would put these two things together? No, there's no way it works. And that's how you tell the most brilliant chefs in the world. This show is the theatrical equivalent of that.
And it's non-binary. It doesn't fit in a box. It doesn't have a label. It is everything. It is not one thing. You know, early on, the king has a line towards the oracle, oh, things must be one thing or another. And I think we're learning in general in the world, no. That humans are not. And this show is not one thing or another. And if you try to put it in the box you want it to be in, you won't open up to what it is, because it's everything.
This is not just another musical. It's a remake of a movie. This is a new, modern piece of art. This is completely new. It's breaking the mold, and we love the message. We love the message.
No matter who you are,
there.
you'll find yourself in it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's for everyone. 7 to 82, male, female, all that's in between, all that's over and around.
Yeah.
For you, you'll find it. And if you don't get it, you'll have a great time. And get your
Exactly.
music
That's the
sung
thing.
off.
If there's that 4 people out there who don't get it, but they'll bounce along to the songs.
There is definitely a contingent of people who, especially when you come in with Vacation, they're like, "That's my jam!" You know,
I love
and
that
you can
cheer
tell
when it happens. They're like,
Oh, yes. Okay, let's give the audience a chance to ask you guys a couple of questions. We'll start here in the front row. Nice shirt.
So I'm really curious. I've seen the show a number of times, and I can always tell that you guys are having as good of a time as we are. And I wonder, from each of you, what is your favorite song to do, or the favorite scene that you're in?
Do it quickly down the line, I guess. My favorite is the opening. We got the beat. It's been my favorite since the beginning, pretty much. It's what the audience finally gets to see what the show's about to be. They're still not sure what it is, but we're like, look out! And everyone's on stage dancing and singing, and that's my favorite.
My favorite number is a song that I sing in the background. It's Here You Are. I just think it's just such a beautiful, heartfelt, transcendental kind of song. I mean, it's about those we've lost and keeping them close. You know, I just every night I have that moment, a very sort of spiritual moment, and just relish in it.
I guess mine would be This Old Feeling, where I sit behind a tent for 10 minutes upstage. Get a nice little break. Tom and I always talk about like what we ate that day, so it's really nice. Not loudly, but then actually otherwise, I'm not even in it, but I watch Beautiful from the Wings every single night because I just love the whole number so much. It's always been my favorite.
I wish we could get your expression watching Beautiful every night, because she's like,
I know. I also like try
That's
to
what
think like,
Instagram stories are
Philia
for,
would be
Rachel.
watching this and be
we're loud
excited.
though.
I know we're not. Oh gosh, no, we're not allowed. But anyway, Bonnie.
That's adorable. Mine changes all the time, but I really do love Good Girl. Tom Kidd has done this trio that is so gorgeous, and all of us are coming from an acting place of being a good girl and stuck in our own box in a different way. And she sounds gorge on it. So.
Sometimes.
Oh, every day. You're fine.
Always.
I think the song that surprised me the most was "Here You Are." You know, it's just so beautiful. Like Rachel said, it just has the entire company except for one person. So I get to sit back and listen to a lot of the show. But every song, every singer, everyone is so talented and brings so much to each iteration. But that's one of my favorites. And also like a selfish moment, definitely Heaven is a Place on Earth, because it's one of my favorite songs. I've had that song No Lie on loop since I can remember, way before ever even knowing. I said yes to this project before even knowing that song was in the show. And so when I found out that it's in the show and I get to sing it, I'm like, oh my gosh.
I've been practicing for this since I was a little wee person. Oh, that's awesome. One more question.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to see the show, and I'm excited to see each of you grow in your careers. My question is for Peppermint. If you can lip sync any one of the Go-Go songs, which song would you choose?
I actually
And
do.
will you do it
lip
right
sync
now?
Several of the Go-Go songs, sometimes during the show.
In your dressing room, you're back there like, that's amazing.
Different moments. I really, probably Head Over Heels. I wish that I were in that song because it's one of my favorites. And so I'm constantly walking around. But I'm usually doing a whole like one-woman version of the show from backstage when everyone else is on stage.
Instagram
Yeah,
live
I know.
that. What are you doing?
You should see my version of Beautiful, honey.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, you need to do that. You need to do like a whole evening where you just like
Lip
lip
sync the whole-
sync the entire.
We'll do it. We'll do it as a
live that.
well.
let's do
Forget
it.
that. We'll sell tickets to it and make it a
that's
charity
right.
thing.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Lip sync
we'll
the
raise
Go-Go's.
money
Lip sync
for
the Go-Go's for your life.
Yes. Well, it's clear you don't like each other at all.
We're very good actresses.
You have no fun together, and you don't really care about this show at all. No, I think it's clear everyone in this room is head over heels for Head Over Heels. Rachel, I think you hit the nail on the head when you used the word transcendent. This show transcends in every way. It transcends gender. It transcends relationship status. It transcends genre. It transcends, like the limits of pop music or the limits of Elizabethan drama.
Musical theater. Of
Age.
Yeah. I mean, in any way possible, in every way possible. I feel like I'm going to butcher the line, but I'm going to close out by saying this is an interview and this is a show that I won't unremember.
Yes! You got it right.
Thank you so much for being here, ladies.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.